If you want to learn how to use Framer and create custom websites on the platform without needing to know how to code, then you are in the right place. In today's video, I'm going to share with you how I created this custom website inside of Framer and all the steps I took to make it come to life. So without further ado, let's jump into the video. Let's start off by explaining what Framer is. I know there's so many website platforms out there. I just posted a video on my favorite website platforms and ranking them based on what you might need or your clients might need. But Framer is definitely up there in the rankings for me, and I wanted to just break down the basics of what exactly it is. Framer is a website design and building tool that lets you design and publish websites visually. You can drag, drop, and style everything, your text, your images, sections, buttons, etc., without needing to know how to code. I'm actually filming an entire video to share with you guys on why I'm actually switching from WordPress to Framer and the reasons behind that, so stay tuned and subscribe if you guys want to see that video. But I'm going to share with you guys how to use Framer, and I'm sure through that you're going to realize why I love it so much. And one of the things that a lot of designers love about it is that it loads very fast. I think a lot of visual building platforms get a bad rap because of the loading speed or it crashing on you, but Framer uses React, which is a really quick and easy to use visual building platform. So that's a little bit of the basics around what Framer is, but let's talk about how to actually use it. So I'm going to start to screen record and share with you guys my exact portfolio site and how I was able to make this come to life. After playing around with Framer all year, I've really tried to understand the best way to explain it, and I think it comes down to 3 simple things, and once you understand this, it is going to be so much easier to start designing and developing on Framer. The first thing you need to know is, number 1, the canvas, which is your work area. So if I were to create an entire new page, as you guys see here, I have these pages built out, but if we're going to create a new page, I'm going to go here, select new page, and this right here is our canvas. This is your workspace. It's where everything lives. You can view this as your artboard that you use in Adobe Illustrator or your artboard that you might use in Figma, but you can zoom in and out of the entire page, and this is exactly where we are going to start to add all of our designs and all of our elements. So if you wanted to completely stop using Figma, you could design directly inside of Framer and just wait to publish the page, or you could take your Figma design and even bring it in using the plugin. But I'm going to be sharing with you guys specifically on how to create completely from scratch inside of Framer. So consider this your canvas, and over here we have our pages layer where you can see all the other pages we have going on in the site. And like I showed you guys right here, you can create new pages by clicking the plus sign. You can hide pages. You can even click on these 3 dots in each of these pages and change the settings, which is like the SEO and all of the information you might need on the back end. But this is where you access all of your pages, and you can even search here just in case you have a lot of them. It makes it really easy to find exactly what you're looking for. This right here is a new feature from Framer, and it's the design area, and this is actually really, really cool, and I was super excited to share this with you guys because this will allow you to completely get rid of Figma and all the other memberships you might be paying for, subscriptions you might be paying for, because you can create your designs and mockups inside of this area. And then as soon as you're ready to make it a page, you would just go here. You would just right click in here and say create web page. So this makes it so easy to create your mockups and to make it really visually appealing to your clients if you're sending this over to them to get feedback. And then you can easily just click it to become a web page. So I love that about it, but that is a new feature. So I originally designed my entire website by just going in here and creating these custom pages. So the first step is to understand that this is your canvas, this is your artboard, and if we click on this layers tab, we are going to start to see everything we're going to be adding in. And then your assets tab is things that you might be using throughout the entire website. So the buttons, your header, your footer, any of the items that are more like a global element that can be applied to multiple pages while maintaining the same look. So we'll see in here all of my style settings, my colors, my fonts. So the assets tab is kind of its own complete thing aside from the layers and the pages, and it's an area that I recommend diving into first to set up everything. Like setting up all of your styles here is super important. You can set up your H1, your H2, H3, all of that. I would recommend doing that in the very beginning, and also setting up your link settings. So if you want it to have an effect when you hover over text, so it like highlights to a different color, this is where you can set it up so it's consistent throughout the entire website. Same with your colors. You guys already know that's super important. CMS is also important. This is where I'm going to be adding in all my portfolio items. CMS stands for Content Management System. So it allows you to create your portfolio pieces and your blogs and maintain the same design for each of the blog pages and each of the portfolio pages, but with its own unique content on each page. So it's a whole other video, but I kind of wanted to walk through like what exactly we're looking at here inside of Framer and to kind of keep your eyes out for these different settings. So assets is where we would set up all of those global items that will be seen on the website more than once. But if I go back to our layers here, I talked about how this is our main artboard. This is where we're going to be designing. We can see all of our size settings on the right-hand side and the fill color, which I have that set in my global settings. But I wanted to mention that is the first thing that you should know about your Framer design. We're also going to create our tablet responsiveness settings and our phone responsiveness settings. So if you just click that plus icon, you'll be able to add those different breakpoints on the same page, which is one of the reasons I really do love Framer, is that it makes it so easy to make your website responsive and have a similar design on each device. The second thing that is super important to know in Framer is frames. Frames, I like to consider the building blocks of our entire website. It is something I use a lot with each section that I build, and it's basically just boxes. You can think of it as like a container that's holding all of the content in each section. So once you understand frames, things are going to be so much easier for you to understand inside of Framer. But a frame can be a section on your website. So if I go to my home page here and click on this section in the layers, your frame can be a section of your website. It can also be a column or a card inside of that section. So if we have things like this with two different sections here, we have the stack, but we also have the frame inside of the stack. So it's really important to understand the frames versus the stacks, and that's exactly what I want you guys to walk away from in this video. But overall, the frames are just like folders that organize all of your design elements inside of the sections. It gives you a little bit more flexibility with frames to overlap things and make things look really custom and creative. And that's why on some of these sections here, like this, or even on this here where I have images really close to each other, I use frames for this more than I use stacks. And that brings me into the third thing that is super important to know inside of Framer, and that is stacks. Stacks are basically similar to frames. It allows you to create those different like folders for the elements inside of the section. However, the biggest difference between frames and stacks is that stacks is what helps you maintain the spacing inside of those sections. If you want things to look super clean and organized vertically or horizontally, then you're gonna wanna use stacks. It's basically telling Framer like, hey, I want these items stacked neatly in a row or in a column, and it will do all of the alignment and spacing for you if you're using stacks. So the main reasons you would use a stack is if you are wanting to maintain that space consistency, but also it'll automatically adjust when you add or remove elements, which keeps things really nice and easy as a designer. And it also just makes your design really responsive. So when you're using stacks, you'll notice that on your tablet and your phone that the stacks actually look really good, and you don't have to do a whole lot of tweaking and adjusting because it automatically does the spacing and alignment on those other devices. And another way to think about this is if you ever use auto layouts inside of Figma, stacks is basically the same exact thing as auto layout. And if you are going to be using the Figma to Framer plugin, you actually have to make sure that your Figma design has those auto layouts, because when you transfer it over inside of Framer, it's going to set them up as stacks. So if you don't have the auto layout set up in your Figma, things are going to look a little messy and crazy. I honestly use a good mix of frames and stacks. I don't always use stacks because, like I said, I like to do like some fun, unique spacing effects with my images, and I don't want them aligned perfectly. So it's totally up to you on which one you want to use, and I'll kind of show you the difference when I create that custom page. Okay, so now that we went over the main basics of Framer, so let's go back to this custom page that I started to create with you all. And we're gonna start by creating a super simple section with just an image on one side and text on the other side. So I'm gonna go up here to the top menu bar. I'm actually gonna go to this right here, and I'm gonna have it insert a column because I want to have a pretty even spacing of image and text. I don't want it to look really messy on each different breakpoint. So I'm gonna go to layers here, and I'm gonna grab this column, and it will make you draw it out right on the page here, and we can see that on tablet and phone that applied there as well. So once we have it here, you can click on this stack if you want it to be a full width stack in that entire page, in that section. What you'd want to do is go over here to the width, and we're going to say relative, and I'm going to say 100%. That way it reaches each end of the page, and then I'm just going to align it to the center, and you can align it to the top to get everything nice and clean. So it looks like it applied that to all the other pages there, which is perfect. You can make this taller, shorter, whatever you want. And then we'll see inside of the stack now we have the 2 frames. So this is like a perfect example of like how stacks can actually align your frames for you. If you decide later on, like all the frames you have, if you want them to be spaced nicely, you can even click on them and say add stack. So there's ways to do it after the fact too, if that's something you want to do. But inside of this stack, we have 2 frames. So I'm gonna click on this frame, which is the left-hand side. And here we can actually remove the fill, or we can add a image as the fill. So I just kind of want to walk you guys through like how to create this custom website and like how to really start with it. So I'm going to actually choose an image. I know you guys can't see my folder here. I'm just going to add an image. Okay, image is uploading. This is where you can create like that background image that will take up the entire space. And then I'll show you guys how to remove that little spacing in between both of these frames, or how to increase it, and also how to create like the borders around things if that's a style you like as well. But this image is taking a minute to upload, so okay, so while that image is uploading, I'm gonna go over here to this other frame, and I'm gonna change the background color to, let's say, green. We can even do like the darker beige just so we can see the difference. And then I click on this stack here, and as you guys can see, this little line in the middle here is actually a setting inside of our stack, and it is called gap. So in here, we can increase the gap if we wanted, we can remove it completely, or you can just add it exactly how you want. And that's how you would create that spacing between those 2 frames. And if you want to add text into this frame, what we would do is go up to this little text box and drop it inside of the frame. And I'm just going to write test heading. And since we have all of our assets set up, which is what I showed you guys in the beginning, I'm just going to be able to click here and select H2 or H1 for our settings. And once that's there, you can drag it around. There's no specific like alignment that is needed for this because it is set as absolute. This type right here, if it is set up as relative or fixed, it's going to be really hard to do that drag and drop effect. So if you're running into issues on your framer and you're not able to drag things, I would check the type here and change it to absolute so that you're able to customize where that text is placed. But I'm going to place that there. I'm going to duplicate it. I just held down Option to duplicate that, and we can change our text settings by clicking body here, and there is my text. And then we would want to check it on the tablet and the mobile. Also, if you go to your tablet and you're like, I actually want the stack to be horizontal, I want it to be vertical, not horizontal, you could go to your tablet settings here, click on that stack, and you can actually change the direction of it this way. So sometimes that's nice for like responsiveness, so it looks better. But in here, we can also change our text settings, and you can customize exactly where you want that placed on each device. Perfect. Okay, and then one of the things that I did inside of my assets panel, which is what I showed you guys in the beginning of like your global settings and the things that you're going to be using throughout the entire website, is I actually created my button settings. So I have a primary button and a secondary button, and I can add that by going to this little element icon down here. I don't even know what you call it, the little square. I'm going to type in button, and we'll be able to see my primary button too. So I'm gonna click on this one and insert, and then we're just gonna wanna make sure that is dragged into this frame right here. And there you go. As you can see, you can align these perfectly. So lots of flexibility with your design. You just wanna make sure that everything is okay on all of the devices. Perfect. And it looks like I'm having some image issues here. So I'm just gonna quickly refresh my page and I'll show you guys kind of how to keep on going with the design. Okay guys, I was able to get my image uploaded in here. So now that we have that there, I just want to continue designing with you guys and show you how to add these new sections and to what to think about when using either a stack or a frame. So I'm gonna go back up here, and if I go into my layers, we're gonna see that we have this stack. We can rename this like hero section so we're able to differentiate everything. But I'm gonna go up here and we're just gonna add a simple frame. Don't worry too much about the sizing of the frame because you can always change that in the right-hand panel here. And I usually make my sections full width, and it all depends on if you like some like spacing on the left and right, you can totally adjust that here as well. But I just wanted to add that here, and I'm gonna drag it below hero. That way we can keep the alignment settings going on. Just want to make sure that it's inside of my desktop area, because as you guys might have seen just then, it wasn't actually within the desktop, it was off on its own, which it wouldn't show up when I actually publish it live. So I'm gonna just increase the height of my page by dragging down, super simple. And then as we can see here on tablet and phone, it just wasn't perfectly aligned, but that looks a lot better. So I'm gonna click on the frame here, and I'm gonna change the background color to green. And I actually want to go back to my hero section here and remove that gap completely. And then there's always some fun settings you can do with like load effects. You can even add a smooth scroll effect to your entire page, so it's like really nice as you scroll. But those are little things that are more advanced that I can show you guys in another video. But we have our frame here. So if you guys want to add text to this frame, you would do that same exact thing by just clicking inside of the frame and saying whatever text you want. So I'm just adding some fake text here. And then we would just change our text settings. You can change the color of your text as well. And this is going to be a perfect example if I show you guys, like if I wanted to add maybe some text on the other side or even like right below it, but I want things to be like perfectly spaced, then that is when I would use a stack. So I'm gonna add body here, and let's actually just add a button. Okay, and then I'm gonna select all of these, highlight them, and I'm gonna say add stack. And there we go, perfectly aligned them. It looks like the spacing in between these aren't as like big as I'd want it. So to change the spacing, I would just increase that gap, just like I showed you guys on the previous section. The gap is what's gonna allow you to adjust that. We can also change the direction if we wanted it to all be across like that, but I do like it stacked. We can even change it to be aligned left, and then I can add padding on the right side and left side if we want it to be like perfectly in the center there. So there's so many things you can do to customize this, but I actually like it aligned center, and I'm just gonna remove this. But don't be afraid to use the padding settings and stacks if you do have a section that requires some more alignment, spacing, consistency. And then as you can see on tablet and phone, it is perfectly aligned still. So I actually could have done the same exact thing up here for the text. I could have clicked all this and said add stack, aligned it left, and then add that spacing around it just so things maintain that consistency. That way when you add text to this, you don't have to constantly like move things. The more text you add, it's gonna automatically space it out for you. So that is the difference between frames and stacks, and I hope that really helps kind of break down the basics of Framer and what is so important to know about it. But the other thing that I wanted to share with you guys, when it comes to sections like this that is using a slider, that is also a little bit more advanced to create, but it's not very difficult at all. And the way that I was able to do this was by actually going to a template inside of Framer, a free template, and pulling the elements I really liked the look of and just adjusting them myself. So I created this as a component, and if I click in here, we can see that it is basically just using a slider element, which if you click on this plus sign, we can type in slideshow, and we can do a carousel or a slideshow, and you can just customize it in there. But I did go to that template and I pulled a component from it that I really liked the look of, and I just started to adjust it myself. But you can see here that this slideshow is going to be pulling content to be basically rotating through. So it's really simply set up. You just add that slideshow element and you add all of your content outside of the canvas. So you guys know we talked about artboards and canvases. You're gonna add all that content outside of the canvas, and then you're basically gonna just tell that slideshow to pull in the content that is sitting on the outside. So we can see that my project here is pulling in my CMS data, which I know I'm throwing a lot at you guys, and CMS is like a whole other advanced video I can make on Framer, but my CMS information is all in here. So all my projects, all my services, and the blog, but it is pulling the CMS data, and it's really nice because it is a like variable, which if I go to this right here, click on the project card, we will see that it is pulling in these purple highlighted things. It's actually a variable. So it's gonna pull in a unique project for each project card. And the way that I was able to do that is if I click on this here, we will see that it is starting at 1, limiting to 1. And if I click on this one, it is starting at 2, limiting to 1. So it's just gonna count down the list of my CMS, and it'll be like, when it says starting at 1 or 2 or 3, it is pulling from the third item in my CMS list. So I just wanted to give you guys a little preview of that, because these are the things that I feel like once you understand a Framer, it just makes it so easy to use the platform and so much more easy to understand how to use it. So I hope that helps to see, but I'm gonna leave this right here so you guys can have a little cheat sheet to remember the main important things about Framer and how to use it, and those basic items that you need to understand to make it so easy to design any website inside of Framer. I'm gonna be making a whole video, like I said, on why I'm switching from WordPress to Framer. So if you guys are interested in that, definitely be sure to subscribe, because I'll be posting that really soon. But let me know down below in the comments if it was helpful. If you have specific questions on Framer, let me know, and I'm happy to make an entire video on it. But I hope that this was helpful. Let me know by giving it a thumbs up, subscribing to my channel down below, and I will talk to you guys in my next video.